Hello, and welcome to Monday. I'm hoping that everything's okay, sound-wise and picture-wise. Nobody's here with me yet, so let's see if anybody comes in. Jackie Grant is watching. Hello, Jackie. Hello, that's it. There's a few people coming in now, so I must be in the right place because you've all found me. And yes, so welcome to Monday evening. It's the 15th. Yes, it's the 15th of May, and goodness, end of May is in sight, isn't it? It's halfway through already. So yeah, and it's a glorious Monday here. We've had such a lovely day. It's been very warm, very sunny. Had to go into town, which is kind of right next to the seafront, and it was a bit cloudy and a bit windy. But the sun came out there as well, so that was nice. Mind you, I was sat in my appointment, so I didn't see much of it. But yes, so it's been a lovely day, and I hope you've had a lovely day where you are. I think the UK is basking in better weather, isn't it, this week? And apparently it's going to get warmer before the weekend. So that should be nice. So I wonder who we've got here. Will you just give me a second whilst I look away and try and get this live up on my MacBook, because then I can see your comments better and I can reply to you. So I can see Jill. Hello Jill. And I can see Rachel and Bridget. Hi. And Elaine. Hello. Lizzy's here. Hello. Jackie. A wee bit quiet. Let me bring my microphone a bit further forward then and see if that's it. And I'll have to shout at you. So I'm not usually a shouty person, but but then we have Karen and Rosemary, Judy, Sally, Karen again, Imogen, Dawn. So there's lots of people joining us now, and as is the want at the moment, my MacBook is playing up. Every Monday night it does this, and whenever I do anything else, it's absolutely fine. So goodness knows why it's doing this. It's showing me everything I need to see, so don't worry about that. And there we go. Now I can't see comments. I can see 45 comments, so people must be saying hello, so that's good. So we're not going to worry about MacBooks, we're not going to worry about anything, because this is our nice time together, and we're going to leave all the worrisome things behind and do a touch of sewing. So I'm hoping that you've seen the pattern for today. If you haven't, where have you been? Because it's all over Facebook. I've sent emails to everybody, and so I'm hoping you've seen the pattern, and I'm hoping you like it. So our pattern today is called Willow. You'll know that we're on trees this month, so this is, it knows, it does, Jackie. Jackie's saying it knows that it's Monday night, and it's just not showing me anything. So I just don't get it. I just really don't get it. It's just not, it's not playing ball, and I really don't get it. But, you know, my Wi-Fi is fine. It's whirring at the moment. What do they call that? Buffering, whatever that means. So I'm all right when things are working well. When they're not doing what they're supposed to, I don't have a clue really. I don't have a clue. So, not seen the pattern yet, Jen. Goodness me. Well, here it is. Here it is. Good job I brought it with me then, and you can see it. Oh, so what have you been working today? Perhaps if you've been working or you've been busy, I'll let you off. But only once. Only once. So this is Willow, and I've called Willow a reticule bag because as I was making it, it was reminding me of Jane Austen, really, and the 17th century, you know, when I was young. And they used to wear a reticule. It was the original lady's handbag, wasn't it? And it came about because the fashions changed, and they had different kind of styles of dresses, so that the underskirt pockets where they kept everything that they needed when they were in their balls and what have you, now disappeared because you could see them. So they started to wear the little handbags with their smelling salts and a vial of perfume, and I expect the dance ticket book and all that kind of thing. And this is she, and this is she. So it's kind of based on that, really. And I thought it would be quite nice to have it with handles, and you can have it for anything. You can put your little special things in for when you go out. You can put your little personal items, your lipstick and your little coin purse and maybe your phone. So it's not awfully big, but it will hold quite a lot. The other thing about the reticule is that in itself it was a pocket, so it didn't have any pockets. So I haven't put any pockets in this one. You could put 2 pockets inside, you could put a pocket on the outside, you could put a zip pocket, you could put a letterbox pocket, you could put all sorts of things. So if you want to put pockets in, you carry on and put pockets in. I just didn't want to put pockets in. This is quite bulky. You'll see that I've got things in here that probably shouldn't be in here. Balls of wool, because it's all hand to hand. But it just makes it hang nicely. So it's not heavy, but it makes it hang nicely. So we're going to make Willow tonight. I've done quite a lot of preparation towards it because we're using the quilter's grid, and there's quite a lot of patchwork and bits and pieces. So I'm going to tilt the camera down and I'm going to show you what I've prepared, and then I'm going to show you how I did that. So all will be revealed. Okay, so we will finish up with a bag tonight. Is everybody all right? Let's see who else is here. Mary's here, Beryl, Cheryl, Wendy, Christine, Caroline. Hello, everybody. And I've seen Donna, and I've seen lots of people up above while my machine is still buffering. And Jen says she's had a very busy day. Doctors this morning and caring for a 93-year-old mum. And then sorting out the garage with her beak. There's always something to do, isn't there? So I'm going to let you off, Jen. I'm going to let you off. It's fine. You can come out of the naughty corner now. It's okay. We're not supposed to say naughty, are we? We're supposed to say, I don't know what we're supposed to say. But anyway, you're forgiven, Jen. I'm sorry it's been such a busy day for you. Nicola's here as well, waving at me, so that's lovely. Okay, so I'm going to, oh, Rosina says she's going to use some of her 2-inch cut-offs when boxing the projects. Yeah, because we tend to cut out 2 inches, don't we? And you pop them into your drawer or whatever. You'll see that I've used a bit of scrap fabric here in a second. So I'm going to tilt the camera down, and you will need to tell me what the view is like, because unless I go in like this to see the phone, I can't see on the MacBook because it's a pain. But I can see what you're saying, so that's good. Okay, so here we go. Let's tilt you down. I can see so far, and then all I can see is a black line across the bottom. That might be a little bit too close. So, given that we're on a bit of a tilt, looks like I've been on the sherry. I'm more of a Tia Maria girl myself. So, okay. So all's good. So that's fine. I've had the thumbs up. So that's great. Okay, so here we have the bits and pieces that we need to make our Willow. So these are my lining pieces, so that's easy. Now you'll see that these are my patchwork pieces. Do you like that fabric? It's just gorgeous, isn't it? It's just really lovely. We're on the theme of red and cream, or red and white, but some lovely deep reds in here. And I'm loving it. So that's all done. That's the back or the front, and this is the front or the back. Okay, then we have our cords, then we have our channels for the cords to go in, and then we have our little tulips to go on the ends of the cords. So I've got everything ready, so you can see that I've done the patchwork. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you with these small little bits how I did that. we have used quilter's grid before, but that might have been before some of you joined, or you might just need a little refresher. Lovely nails, Kath Pippa says. Oh, that's very kind of you, and Mary said the same. I did have them done today. That's why I was in town and sitting watching the world go by while I was having my nails done. So Anna says, perfect view of those lovely nails. They are rather nice. They do quite a nice job, so I'm very pleased with that. Anyway, back to the job in hand. So here is our quilter's grid. Now, if anybody's not seen it before, quilter's grid is like an interfacing. This side is nice and smooth, and it has quite clear brown lines on it. Now, I'm going to leave it on the desk because I think you possibly will see the brown lines better on the white desk than you'll see it on anything. Let me take that out of the way. It's getting on my nerves. So that is the side of the quilter's grid that is not next to the fabric. All right, as you turn it over, you've still got a clear view of the lines, but you've got a more textured feel to it, and that's the glue. All right, so I'm going to bring in my ironing pad and my iron. Let me switch that on for a second, and I'm going to show you what I do. So the first thing we need to do is we need to cut it to size. Now, this obviously isn't the size in the pattern, but I've said in the pattern, and I hope I've explained it well enough, that each one of these squares fills up 4 squares of these, because these are inch squares. All right, so that will fill up there. So what you want to do, yes, it's a touch wasteful, but I think it's better, is when you cut out the size that I've given you, I've said cut it ½ an inch bigger than the actual size. So the brown line that you can see around the edge there is the actual size that I'm going to use and cover with fabric. The outside edges are in between the inch wide markings, and so we want that just to make sure that we are getting everything adhered nicely onto this, and then we can trim it away later. All right, so I'm going to pop this on here. It just about fits. Now you see, you can't see the brown lines, but so perhaps what I'll do is put it on here first. So I'm just going to start from this outside line here, the last line that I have, and that outside line there, and I'm just going to pop down my pieces. I'm going to put them as close to the brown lines as I can and as close to each other as I can. Don't worry here. You don't have to be as accurate as you think you need to be. So don't give it any thought. Just pop them down as much in the lines as you can, more or less. And I'm just going to arrange them like that. So these are little bits of scraps that I had in the drawer, and this is just to show you. Okay, so I'm going to pull that onto there now. And now what we do, so we've got the glue side up and the wrong side of the fabric down. So the wrong side of the fabric is next to the glue. Okay, I'm sorry if you are very used to using quilter's grid, but what we have to do is we have to think of those people who've never used it, or maybe only used it once when we used it last year, and now have forgotten what to do. And that's perfectly fine, because we all forget what to do. So my iron is quite hot, so I'm going to pop it on there, and I'm just going to hold it down. I'm not going to move those. It's a bit like a plique. You don't want to move them. So no scrubbing round. Just hold them on there. I can never remember how long you should hold this for, and I look it up every time and I forget every time. So this time I didn't bother. When they're stuck, they're stuck. Okay, so those are more or less stuck down now. Be careful with your overhangs and your iron. You don't want that adhesive on your iron. So when you think they're stuck enough, you can just do it on the back. And if it gets stuck to your wool mat, it will peel off. So I'm just giving it a little bit more of a press. Okay, so here we have, you'll see that that's not adhered there, but it doesn't matter. So here we have our equivalent of this. All right, So I've just put a pin in the top there for me to know where I've decided that the top corner is. So I hope you can see that. My computer has gone off altogether now. Eileen had trouble finding us tonight. Well, welcome, Eileen. You found us now, so that's good. I'm having trouble with my computer, so I empathise with you, Eileen, so don't worry about it. We've got you now. All I've done is to stick some squares onto my quilter's grid, and you can look back to see what I did. So now we come to sewing this. Now obviously we have lots of lines, and here I've only got 2 lines of squares. So we're going to call this the horizontal line, and those are the lines we're going to do first. So we have 7 down and 6 across, and we're going to do our horizontal lines first. We're going to sew them. Right, so I've turned it to the side, and there will be lots down there because that will be what you're sewing. And all I'm going to do is this top one, I'm going to fold over, so it's now going right sides to right sides, down that line in between the joint, in between the 2 rows of squares. And on the back, you will, I don't know whether you'll see there, don't know whether you can see that. Let me put a bit more light on it. If I open it up, you will see that brown line, and we want that brown line right on the fold. So don't worry too much what the fabrics are doing. As long as you've got the correct brown line in between the 2 squares, then you are fine. We just want to keep that brown line, and it wants to stay there. So, you know, it's not difficult. And we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'd say a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. So just a hair's breadth or a thread under the 1/4 inch. I've got my 1/4 inch foot on, and it's not quite a 1/4 inch, so I know that that does a good job. And we're just going to stitch along there. So I've actually taken my stitch length down to about 2.2, and we're going to stitch. So I'm going to move this down so you can see my machine, I think. Whoops. I'm really sorry. It just won't move. There we go. I couldn't move that then. How's that? Is that any good? Can you see? So all I'm going to do is stitch down the folded edge, trying to keep my brown line on that fold. Now, the school of thought is that you don't have to do a back stitch here, but I do a couple of little reverse stitches because I find that it's a little bit vulnerable otherwise. Karen says it's a great view. Thank you very much. Lizzie and I have used it several times. Lizzie and Kath have used it several times. Yes, thank you, Jackie. Yes, we have. And it's a great product. You don't have to be too accurate with your cutting. You have to be in the ballpark, but not, you know, too accurate. It makes very easy patchwork, and it gives that, you leave it in, so it gives that bit of stabilisation as well, like an interfacing. So I've lowered my stitch length to 2.5, and I'm going down this side, just stitch. I'm just keeping an eye to make sure that I've got, whoops, wrong end of my foot's turned round to cut. So there you can see that I have a seam in there now. Can you see that? I have a seam. Yeah. And that's the fold. So push that out of the way, bring you back this way a little bit. Gosh, this is a bit stiff tonight. I'm really sorry. Right. So you can see that I've got the fold on the horizontal. So when you fold it back, you've got a lovely, lovely stitch line, and you've got lovely corners there, which are going to be even better in a minute. So I'm not going to bother to press at this point. What we're going to do is to turn the work over, and we're going to use our scissors to cut that folded seam at every junction of the squares. So we're just going to cut just shy of the stitching. If you cut through the stitching, don't panic. You can either stitch again, or indeed don't worry about it if it's a tiny bit, because these little snips are going to be in this seam allowance. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we would have a row of all these. We would have them all the way down, and if I turn that over, you can see what I mean. So there's my horizontal lines, and these are my folded bits. So what we're going to do with this now is we're going to press it, and we're going to press all the ones in the line one way and the next way, and like that. Okay, so I'm going to press this one this way because that's the way it looks like it wants to go. Then the next one's going towards you. Next one's coming towards me. And the next one's going towards you. This will allow us to nest our seams, because here you'll see that as you do these, the seams are nested and they go one way and the other, one way and the other. So this equates to this row kind of, this row kind of. These are all going that way, those are all going that way, these are all going that way, and those are all going that way. I hope that makes some sense. Keep looking it back if you're not quite sure. I'm trying to be as clear as I can. So once we've done all the horizontal lines, however many there are, in this case only one, we will now do the vertical lines, and you'll see what happens. So I'm going to fold right sides to right sides. Okay, wants to go. The brown line is on the fold, and can you see those seams? That's going that way and that's going that way. So we've reduced the bulk, and we can stitch down there now knowing that there's no bulk. Come back to my machine. I'll bring it in. How's that? Is that any good? Okay. And this will be a big long seam on yours. Well, it's not that long, but it's a longer seam than this. We're going to do our scant 1/4 of an inch again, back stitch, and just make sure as you go through it, I hope you can see this, that one lies one way and one lies that way. All right, and it keeps it lovely and flat, and you will find that you have perfect points every time. Just keep your eye on that brown line as well. So when we've done that one, we just do the next one. So fold along the blue line, no, the brown line. That's because this is a blue square, sorry. It is brown, I promise. It's not the trick of the light. Then we're doing the next seam. And then we're doing the next seam. Fold on the brown line. One going one way, one going the other way. And this quilter's grid helps it to stay like that. It just wants to stay. Once you've tried it, you'll find it so easy. You'll be thrilled with the outcome. Okay, so those are all together. So I'm going to push that out of the way for a minute because it's going to take a couple of minutes for me to do the next bit. And I wish I could see if you can see. That's a bit better, I think. It's a bit wonky. Never mind. We'll manage on the wonk. So there we have our stitches. Now, on the back here, there's a couple of things you can do. We're going to give it a press. If you want to, you can send them all one way, but I think here it's still a little bit bulky. So that's one option, all one way or all another. And in fact, you know, it doesn't matter. But I think it's still a little bit bulky. The other thing that you can do is to, I'm not going to do that this time. I've done it on these. but I'm not going to do it this time because it will just take too long, is you can actually get your, there's your folded seam, get your rotary cutter and your ruler and take a tiny sliver off there. Okay, I hope you can see that. Take the tiniest of slivers off there. That's the second option. And then you would open up the seams as I have done here, and that helps to share the load, if you like. Or if you've got tiny scissors, let me see if I can do it with this one, you can go in between the fold and cut it with the scissors. I'll just do this one, I'm not going to do all the rest because we've done this part. And then you can open the seam out, and that spreads the load, and that's probably the easiest part, the easiest option, I mean. So you can see that it's all distributed here, and when you turn it over, it's lovely and flat. Whereas these, if we put them one way, they're okay. If you're just experimenting, they're okay, but they're not as flat as the open one. So there's the two that are not as flat. There's a little bit of bulk in the middle, and if you've got plain fabrics, you'll be able to see it. But here, you can see nothing because that's the open seam. So that's what I've done. I hope that is a reasonable explanation for you. If you're concerned, look back again and just watch that while you're doing your pieces. So we land up with two of these, okay? So what I did in the pattern and what I've suggested to do is to then put G700 on top of this. The Valiseline G700 is a woven cotton interfacing, very light but gives a medium finish, and that helps to keep your seams in place. Because I've opened them up, I'm not going to do that this time, apart from the fact that G700 is expensive. It's not a cheap product, but it is a fantastic product. I'm not going to have time to sit and adhere those. So what I'm going to do next is to just grab my cutting board, and we're going to measure this just to make sure that it's the correct measurement, which is in your pattern. That's correct, and that's correct. So all I'm going to do now is to trim off any little bits of moved fabric, just to make it nice and straight. I'll take my pin out of there for a second, and to trim off that excess quilter's grid. So if you find yours is a bit bigger or a bit smaller, don't worry, it's a bag. It hasn't got to fit anybody, and if anybody comes with their tape measure, they can go with a flea in their ear. All we are concerned about is having these straight. It would be nice if we had the full square at the end, but you know, it really doesn't matter. On this one, you can't tell whether it's a full square or not. You really can't tell. So unless somebody's going to be looking at it with a fine tooth comb, and if they do, just show them the door, as I said, nobody's going to know. And it doesn't matter if they did. So while I do this, tell me about your day. Have you had a busy one? Like Jen sounds as she's had a busy one. Looking after an elderly relative is not easy, is it? I've done my fair share of that, and it's not an easy task. It's very difficult, so I do feel for you. Yes, Joanna. I see that Jackie's saying what projects actually. Joanna was lovely. A lot of people have made Joanna, and it's very simple, and even more simple with the quilter's grid. Even more simple. So Joanna was like a table mat or a drinks mat or whatever you'd like to call it. So I've said the next job is to put these together. Now the only thing that I would suggest is that you just double check which way round they are, because you can see those two are together and I don't particularly want that. I had decided which way round was best. So now you can see they're all different. It doesn't matter top or bottom. These seams will nest because one's gone down and one's gone up. So they'll be lovely for getting your seams right when you do that. So I'm just going to pin these together, and you're all going to be shouting at me now saying, what about your boxed bottoms? I'll do them now. I'll do them now. Decide which you want as top or bottom. Doesn't matter if you're going random. If you're not, then you've got a choice. So all I'm going to do now is take my ruler and I'm going to measure and draw 1.5 inches. Now this isn't easy because it's going to come across the fold. Don't worry about it. Just draw your line. So it's 1.5 inches from the outside and the outside. Let me find my heat erasable pen. So mine is going to come halfway across that fold because it's folded downwards, so don't worry about it. And we're going to measure both sides. Take my pins back out. I'll put my pins back in a minute so that they don't move. Oh, now see, I got that wrong. Oh, I would have done it too small rather than too big because I had the wrong measurement on there. But that's the beauty of having heat erasable pens. Doesn't make any difference how many marks you use. So then put your pins back in so you've got those all nicely together, and then I'm going to cut both together. Let's just check that measurement again. Yep, it's right. So cut out your box bottom. Don't worry about what it's taking, what it's not, because it will all be sewn into the seam allowance. I was just trying to read some comments then. Yes, Catherine said, look on the Valiseline YouTube videos. And I tell you what, the Valiseline website has got all their products listed. Tell you what they're called, what to do with them. It's a brilliant resource. So go and have a look. And I think in files as well, we've got a list of Valiseline products as well, and their alternatives. So if you're in another country and they do something different, then that's fine. Now I'm putting these together and I'm forgetting my channels. Getting carried away. Right, I'm going to put that to the side and I'm going to sort out my channels. These are very easy, and even more easy if you've got one of these, which is a heat ruler. So I am going to, I've got my channel, turn it over to wrong side facing, and I'm going to turn each short end over by 1/4 inch. So with this ruler, I can put it there, fold it over onto the 1/4 inch mark, like that, and then I can use my ruler, I can use my iron. I think I might have left my brain downstairs tonight. I can use my iron to just press. Watch the ruler though, it does get hot. That's the only drawback, so just be careful because the ruler does get hot. I've folded it over then with the ruler, so I know that's 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to fold again, press, fold again on this side, press, and then fold in half. with wrong sides together. All this is explained in the pattern. This is not difficult. It's just making sure that you get those ends folded in. And if that won't stay while you do the other one, and you've got a wooden block of any description, pop it on. And then I'll show you what I did with the other one. So here's my ruler. I'm folding over by 1/4 of an inch, so you might not be able to see the markings, but you can trust me that I've got the edge of that fabric on the 1/4 inch mark. Keeping the ruler nice and straight and the fabric taut, which I didn't. Then you can press it. It's easier on this side because we've got 1/4 of an inch on a black mark, so you might be able to see that. On the other side of the ruler it's a red mark. We don't need our ruler anymore, we just fold it again and press it. Fold this one again and press it. If you don't have a heat ruler and you just want to judge the 1/4 of an inch, then just do that. You don't need all the gadgets. I just like them. Okay, so that's our channels done. We don't have to do anything else to them except to baste them onto the back and front. So we're obviously basting them onto the right side with raw edges together. I've said in the pattern, make a little mark where your halfway mark is, and if you turn this over you'll see that that seam there is your halfway mark. So just join those up. I'm just going to put a pin in that side and a pin in that side. That's the back or the front. They're both exactly the same. Fold this one in half, find the centre and pop that in the centre there. You'll see that these don't come to the end. If you want them longer, you can do them longer, but you don't need them to the end. These are possibly going to land up about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, I suppose, from the end. So, you know, and then all I'm going to do is to baste along there. All right, so if I leave that one there and quickly do this on the machine, there's no point in me moving the machine quite yet, because all I'm doing is stitching, and you can hear that I'm doing it. Just quickly basting along there. I've increased my stitch to about, it's about 3.5, and I'm doing my basting just 1/8 of an inch away from that seam, so you can't see it when you've done the 1/4 of an inch seam that goes along the top later. Make sure that it doesn't move if you take your pins out. So you want it in the centre if you can. It's no big deal if it's 1/4 of an inch out. So we've got our two channels on, and you can see I've still got the hole in there, and that's that sorted. Now I'm going to pin these together or clip or whatever you want to do. I usually pin and then take them out. So right sides together, making sure that your channels are tucked well in, and we're going to sew down there, across there and up there to make the main part of our bag. So now I will move the camera after I tidy my desk a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing on the machine. Okay, here we go. Oh, this camera's got has got a mind of its own. How's that? Is that any good? I'm getting snippets of shots here. I don't quite know where it is now. It's gone back to the beginning. Facebook's a funny thing, and the internet is even funnier. So I'm going to nest these seams. So what I tend to do is start off at the top, using 1/4 inch again. I'm going back down to about 2.4 this time because we've got some more bulk. Back stitch at the top, and then when I get to this one, I make sure that that's really nestled in. You can pin it all the way along if you want to, but I just find pins, oh, I don't know, somehow distort my work, and it just doesn't work for me. But if you want to pin, then you know that's your method, and that's good. That's good. If you've got a stiletto, then this is the ideal time to use it, so you're keeping all those pieces in line. So that's down that one side. Okay, let's have a look, see if we've got our pieces lined up, our corners. Hey, not bad, not bad, eh? So I'm gonna turn it over and do from the top again. This one is a tiny little bit out, so I'm going to make sure my side seams line up rather than my top for now, because I can always trim that. It's not a problem. The quilter's grid is a huge help, but if you're expecting perfect work, it's not going to give you perfect work. It will give you great work, excellent work, help you to achieve that. If anybody's expecting to be perfect, then, you know, let me know what you used, because it won't be anything that I've ever used. And then we're going to do the bottom. And this lines up quite well. I'm not going to worry too much about nesting my seams at the bottom, because my bag is going to be sitting on its bottom or being carried, so nobody's going to see it. They are actually nesting up quite well, but it's not a big deal. If you want to fuss with yours, then please do. Okay, so that's our back and front together. Now we're just going to box those corners. So to spread the bulk a little bit, I'm going to open mine up and just finger press my seams. So that's the bottom seam. Can you see that? I don't think you can. Don't know whether you could or not then, I'm sorry. I think you can. It's actually showing me what I'm doing at the moment rather than whirring. Has everybody disappeared? Are you all still there? Because now I've lost all my comments. Already started making her. You started making this one of you, Rosina. I can see now if I bend down. So we're just bringing the bottom seam to the side seam. You can put a clip on there or a pin if you want to. But as I sew through, I will make sure that that seam is lying flat. So 1/4 inch seam allowance again, and go straight along there. Made sure my seam is flat. And this time it's very necessary to do a back stitch at the beginning and at the end. And so there is our boxed corner there. I'm going to do the same with this one. Just finger press the seam open, and again. Okay, now I'm going to whiz through the next bit because I really want to show you the tulips. Okay, so what I'm going to, so there's our boxed bottom. Okay, I'm going to turn that in the right way so you can have a look at it. Not too shabby, not too shabby at all. Just needs a press. That's the dog, because I'm expecting my husband, so he's probably drawn up. So take no notice of her. Right, the next thing I'm going to do, my lining pieces are right sides together. So I'm going to quickly cut out those square pieces from the ends. There we go. Can you see me? Just about. So you're going to make sure that it's the right orientation. So that's the longest bit, so that's tall. So it's the two bottom ones that we want. So just be careful if you've got fabric that, like I have, that's non-directional, doesn't give you a clue. And we're going to cut those out. So then I'm going to quickly put them right sides together and do exactly the same as I did in the last step with the bag. Stitch down the sides and box the corners. So here we are. So that's the first side. And of course you would be pressing as you go anyway, but I'm not going to. That's the second side. Now we're going to do along the bottom, but we're going to leave about 4 or 5 inches, I suppose, for a turning gap. I'm just going to shut my door if you don't mind when I've done this, because Noodle is a yapper. She's wondering why she's not getting any response. Please excuse me, just one moment. I can still see you, mind. No, I can't. I'm coming back, I'm coming back. I am so sorry, I do apologise about that, but if I don't get her down, she'll still keep yapping and yapping. So, okay, so I've done that side, I've done this side, and I've done along the bottom, and I've left a turning gap. Okay, there we go. So all I'm going to do now is to box the bottoms. Doesn't matter if you leave these open or have them side by side, because you can still hear, can't you? She's out the back now and right under my window. I'm not sure whether Neil was coming home or not, or whether it's the helicopter that's flying about. Oh, Frank's having a go as well now. Oh dear. They're worse than children, you know. They're worse than children. Can you hear them? Oh dear. What are they like? So I'm hoping that you can see I'm just boxing the bottoms of this lining the same as I did for the other side. I've got a little crease there, a little tuck. That's it, that's better. Lovely. Okay, so I've got my lining still inside out and I've got my outside right side out, and I'm going to put one inside the other. Doesn't matter which one you put inside the other. You just have to make sure that they are right sides together. And then I'm going to match up the side seams and put a pin in. You can use a clip if you prefer. So that's the one side seam. And that's the other one. I'm thinking I've got the right ones. Bear with me a second, I'll double check. Yeah, I've got the side seams matched up. And then if you've got your cutting right, your patchwork right, and your seam allowances right, this will all be right as well. And you will get them right because you've got your quilter's grid to help you. All you need to make sure is of your seam allowance. So I'm putting pins in these, but you know I'll take them out in a minute. So what I'm going to do now is to stitch all around the edge, and that will be our bag finished. Make sure when you do this, and it will anyway, that you've got these channels tucked well in. Okay, so I am going to go from the inside because I haven't got a free arm. You can go from the outside or the inside, really makes no difference at all. But you just want easy access. I'm hoping you can see this because I'm aware that the bulk will be in your way. Try and keep my hand out of the way and that fabric. Let me pull this in a little bit further for you. Is that better? Now I'm doing this quite quickly, but you'll probably take a little bit more care to get your seams just lined up. They are lining up beautifully. It's just that they might have gone one way or the other without me realising. So I'm trying to go quickly for you. And we came back to where we finished, and that's that done. So we can now pull through the turning gap. It all comes through nice and neatly. I would normally do the turning gap now, but don't worry about that for now. I will do that afterwards, maybe. As the lining goes down inside, then our channels will stand up. And what we will do ordinarily, I'm not going to do it now, is to make sure our channels are standing up, give this a really good press around the top, and then top stitch all along here, okay? But I'm not going to do that now because I really want to show you the tulip, and I'll probably only get one done. So I have my I have my cord. I'm going to pop it through the channel, through that way, then through the other way. This is probably a bit short. I think I've cut it a bit short. I have said the right measurement on the pattern, but it might be that you want yours a bit longer. So in one way, back around the other way. Okay, and that's what we're going to put the tulip on. So I have my 2 squares of fabric like it says on the pattern, and what we're going to do with the squares of fabric is fold them over wrong sides together, and I'll quickly stitch down here to show you how to turn it through. So we're not turning it in the right way. We are going to, and I would normally press this seam open, so you press your seam open. It will make life better, easier for you in the end. So I'm just going to finger press that, but I would put the iron on yours. I mean, you don't have to, but I would put the iron, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this end over to this end with the right sides facing outwards. I can't do it backwards. I tried this afternoon and I can't do it backwards. So bring the ends together, so you're kind of turning it half through, and I've said on the pattern so that it's kind of a double tube. So I'm not going to fiddle with that, but you can see the principle. There's that bit of fabric inside, and you can move that fabric outside. Get your fingers in and give it a bit of a, and that's what we've got. So it's right sides of fabric on the inside and on the outside, and we've got 2 raw edges together here. Now, does that make sense? Can you understand what I'm saying there? Because well, I'm not rushing, but I am doing it quickly for you, so you can look back on the video anyway. So we've turned it through. This one needs a tidy up, but this one is nice and flat. I got my fingers in there and rolled them round, and it will sit flat. And I've said it's important to get those seams together so that it's not twisted, it's nice and straight. And that what I've done, hello, it's all right, I'm live with the ladies. As my husband really is coming in this time, it wasn't last time. So what I've done is a running stitch around the raw edge bit, through all the layers, a running stitch, so that we can gather that up. So leaving that needle there, and I've got a double thread, so you can see that I've got those two threads there. It's a little bit fiddly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the folded edge, offer it up to the cord, and I'm going to put the cord into the folded edge and all the way through. Keep your ends together. There's one, there's the other. Keep your ends together, and if it's frayed a little bit like mine, bring your raw edges of your tulip just down to there, because we can trim this off in a minute. And then what we're going to do is pull those ends. Okay, so that's the folded edge that the cord goes through, and bring it out and tie it off as tightly as you possibly can. And then with the needle, we're just going to go backwards and forwards through the cord several times so that we've got that well and truly secure. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm just going to pull that through there, and I'm going to snip that one edge off. I'm going to keep this edge, and I'll show you why in a minute. So cords in through the fold, gather and secure. Then we're going to bring this tulip back on itself. Actually, I'll snip that off now. I'm going to bring this tulip back on itself. Okay, so there's your thread. And then what I've got there, here, is a tiny little bit of stuffing. And I'm going to stuff that in the gap there. Okay, stuff it in the gap. Now, it will take more than you think, but it will also take less than you think, because you don't have to put any of this in at all if you don't want to. It just makes it lovely and rounded at the end. Give it a really good push down, all the little bits. And then this end, the needle, we're going to flatten the tulip like that. With this end, we're going to make a couple of little stitches, really tiny ones, knot them off. There, that's enough. And then we're going to squash it the other sides, so make those sides flat. Can you see what's happening there? That's going down into the middle, and we're going to leave those flat, and we're going to go into the middle of those. So not all the way across, just 2 or 3 stitches in the middle, and tie it off. Okay, then I'm going to push that back down in there and lose that through all that wadding and what have you, and snip it off. So, did that make sense? Is that making any sense at all? So there's your one. Oh, I've pulled it out now because I didn't catch it properly. Anyway, that's because I didn't do enough stitches. There's the one. And I don't know what I measured this, but I would add a few inches onto your cord. We don't want it too long, because when it gathers up it will be far too long, but you probably want it a couple of inches longer than that. So just cut it a little bit longer. You can always trim it off if you want to. So let me show you with this one. Those are my tulips, and you can see that that's caught nicely because I did lots more stitching. All right, so there's those two, and as we open the bag they flop down the side, and as we close it again we can carry it with those handles. Okay, Let me bring the camera back up. There we go. So what I will do is this one, I will finish off. I'll sew up my turning gap. I will put some new cords on and do my tulips, and I'll show you this one because this is just gorgeous fabric as well, isn't it? And the tulips go with the fabric in there, you see, and the lining is the same as the fabric outside. So I really love them both. I really love them both, and I think you'll enjoy making them. You can see that they're a quick make, but I wanted to show you particularly that patchwork and particularly the little tulips. I know you've seen the tulips before. When we did Hero, we did little tulips, but I've changed it a little bit and put some stuffing in. And I've also written it in the pattern, so you've got step-by-step instructions with, I think, 4 or 5 photographs of each step. So you'll have no problems doing those, but I just wanted to make sure that you saw, you know, that they're easy to do. They really are easy to do. They're no problem at all. And I hope you like my little Willow. She's very cute, isn't she? And I know I'm going to use it because it will take my phone, it will take my purse, it will take handkerchief, keys, lipstick, all sorts of things. She's nice and roomy inside. If you want a pocket, pop pockets on the lining. It's not a problem at all. But whatever you do with it, please will you show us some pictures? We need more pictures. I like to see the pictures of the photographs of the things that we've made and what people have done with them. And you're all so inventive, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? We give you the basic pattern and then you make your own creation. So it's like I've said lots of times before, you're only limited by your imagination and your creation. So I hope you've enjoyed that tonight. I've enjoyed it thoroughly, and I've had a great night tonight, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Now we're on Monday the 15th, so next Monday will be Lizzy, and another fabulous project. You're going to love that. And on Thursday, if you're in the group, the Lizzy's Fabulous Sewing Group, Lizzy will be live on Thursday as usual at 7 p.m. and got a great lineup for you again on Thursday. It's going to be a fabulous hour and we'll have lots of fun. So if you're not part of Lizzy's Fabulous Sewing Group and you're a subscribing member, then please join the sewing group. If you're not a subscribing member, please subscribe and then join the sewing group. See, it's dead simple. So it's been lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I've had a really lovely time and I hope you have too. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. So I'm going to go and say hello to the husbands and wonder why the dogs have shut up now he's come home. Anyway, good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And thanks again. Bye-bye for now. Bye.